Thank you very much. So I'm going to start slow to see if more people will come into our room. But I think it's a very exciting topic, especially for the upstream audience, because I think a lot of you are exposed to less about the granular level of crude oil price, and more about the headline, say, ICE Brent price or WTI price. So understanding all these physical differences in the quality, in how different regions prefer different grades, you can actually make better decisions on, say, where to drill, where do you want to send your cargo to once the production starts. So here is a chart that actually shows you the difference between the best, I wouldn't say best quality, but the highest differential versus the lowest differential against the benchmark. So the black curve is for the past 20 years, the most expensive grade, and the red curve is for the past 20 years, the cheapest grade. And the gray area behind it is the differential between them. You can see at different points in history, especially in 2022, the difference between the most expensive and the cheapest reached around $14. $14 can literally make or break an investment decision. So it's quite important for everyone to really care about not just the headline crude oil price, but literally how much your specific crude oil can fetch on the market. Because eventually, that's the realization of your final value. And if we want to give some specific examples of the grades, okay. Let's compare two grades, Escravos and Boni Light. Oops. Per barrel, the difference between 2015 versus this year has been around 87 cents. Per cargo, that's less than 1 million barrel. Oh, less than $1 million. But look at the most extreme case between 2015 and now, 10 years apart. Egina versus Dahlia, both West African grades. The difference is $3.66 per barrel. Translate that into a cargo, it's $3.5 million per cargo. So think about all the big amount of crudes that Nigeria, Angola is producing, and the new producing basins that will come up in the near future. These are enormous amount of money that I feel we should care about, and we should be more specific when we talk about crude oil price. But we will discuss what's actually influencing these price differentials. First, let's look at where West African crudes stand. It's part of a supply group that feeds into the European market, of course. And the West African crudes, they don't trade in isolation. Their economics are decided both on the supply side, which competes against the North Sea supply, the Mediterranean supply, European supply, as well as the US supply that goes into the European market. Then West African supply is also frequently, almost routinely, being shipped to the APEC basin, which is where you have your Indian demand, Chinese demand, and all the newer buyers of WAF crudes, for example, Indonesia. And this is where you see the market is interconnected across all these basins. And it's important to understand that your outlet is not just Europe. Your outlet is worldwide. So understanding the preference of Asian refiners in the next 10 years will help you decide where to invest and where to send your cargo to, and who do you want to sign a long-term supply contract with. One thing that has been a systematic change in the past, I would say, 20 years, is the closure of relatively older, simpler refinery in Europe. What this has done is to permanently reduce the demand for some of these lighter sweeter crude oil produced in West Africa. This has profound impact because as the center of weight shift towards the east, you have a much bigger demand for WAF crudes in the east compared with previously. And in the near future, with more European refineries closed, we should continue to expect that more WAF crudes will have to find home in Asia. Look at the production changes for the past 10 years, between 2015 and now. You have huge increase in production across the Atlantic Basin. When we talk about Atlantic Basin, it's really all the production regions in the US, LATAM, Europe, and West Africa. And it really is very different compared with the other side of the world, which is the APEC Basin. Production growth in that part is much smaller, with the exception of, say, Abu Dhabi. But even for Abu Dhabi, its production increase has been mainly focused on the light sour grade Murban. So with that, you could see globally, we're having a very important shift, which is a drastic increase of lighter, sweeter crudes, and not so much increase of the medium, heavier, sour crudes. This has tipped the balance between light, heavy grades. This will have profound impact on where crude oil flow because of the price implications. So concentration of refinery shutdown in Atlantic Basin, not just Europe, but some of the US refineries have also been shutting down. It narrows the outlet for regional grades in the vicinity, then puts downward pressure also on the Brent benchmark. But think about it, all the WAF crudes are priced against Brent, so you're indirectly being influenced by that downward pressure. Now, on the eastern side, you have new refineries being built. Almost all of them are designed to process heavier or at least medium and sour crudes. Because when these refineries were designed, people's mentality is still that heavier crudes are typically less expensive. So if my refinery is designed to run on heavier grades, I have a cost advantage. So there's this mismatch between what's the incremental supply of crude and what's the incremental demand of refining capacity. That mismatch is also contributing to this drastically narrowed Brent to Dubai spread. This spread is the single most important indicator for traders to move their crude oils from Atlantic Basin to the APEC Basin. And you can see at several points in history within the past 2 years, that differential went into negative, meaning Brent trading at discount to Dubai. Many would say that's not normal, but I think we have to recognize it's a new reality that lighter crudes do not necessarily command a premium over medium or heavier crudes because the whole mismatch of increasing light crude supply and increasing heavier crude demand. Pardon me for the clicker. Okay. I think this is also an interesting one and has local implications. So we're comparing 5 Nigerian crude grades from the lightest to the heaviest. Kwaibo, being the lightest, typically trades at the second lowest differential in this 5-grade basket. And Bonga, the heaviest, typically fetches the highest spot market differential. This is a very telling example saying that the market has decided that lighter crudes do not necessarily give me the best results when I refine it. Hence, I'm less willing to pay the premium that I used to pay for these lighter grades. And you overlay the Brent-Dubai differential on top, you see that how the cross-basing demand is impacting how the West African crudes trade. Now, think about crude value. For upstream audience, you think of crude as a product, but eventually crude needs to be refined. When it's refined, its value is materialized. So your product is your downstream customer's feedstock. For them to choose which feedstock, the primary concern is what kind of yield will I eventually get? So combining all the refined products value together, they have this term called gross product worth. So you multiply the different proportion of products with the refined product price, which changes every day. That becomes the most important deciding factor for people to buy, to choose which crude to buy. And I think they caught me, but I just want to follow up on that. When you decide on which crude to buy, it's the refined products value. So think about it. Currently, the world has a very poor lighter complex, which is naphtha and all the whole petchem chain. So crude oil that yields a lot of naphtha, those super light crudes, API above 45, typically are currently trading at a discount to crude oil that's having an API of, say, 30, which yields a lot more diesel. So think about the next 10 years. Where is the petchem industry going? Where is the transportation industry going? That will have a very profound impact on what kind of crude is valued in turn, what kind of crude should be produced. So I leave it at there. Thank you very much.